Ever feel like you were just one step away from the life you've always dreamed of? For Lulu, that feeling was an everyday reality. She was done with scraping by, done with counting every penny. Her eyes were set on the glittering world of luxury, a world she only saw on her phone screen, curated by the flawless influencer, Zara X. Zara had it all. The designer bags, the five-star vacations, the adoring followers. To Lulu, she wasn't just a person, she was a goal. So, Lulu hatched a plan. It was audacious, maybe even a little crazy. But she was desperate. She decided she wasn't just going to admire Zara from afar anymore. She was going to get inside her world. How? By becoming the one person Zara couldn't live without. Her personal assistant. Lulu spent weeks studying Zara's every move. Her likes, her dislikes, her favorite coffee order, even the brand of water she drank. She crafted the perfect resume, embellishing just enough to catch Zara's eye. She knew the competition would be fierce, but Lulu had an advantage no one else did. Sheer, unadulterated obsession. She didn't just want the job. She needed Italiano. It was her golden ticket out of a life she despised and into the one she craved. The interview was a blur of feigned confidence and perfectly rehearsed answers. Lulu presented herself not just as an assistant, but as a solution to problems Zara didn't even know she had. And it worked. She got the call. You're hired. Those two words were the start of everything. The first few weeks were a whirlwind. Lulu was thrown into the deep end of Zara's glamorous life, which, up close, was far more chaotic than it appeared on Instagram. Her days were a blur of booking private jets, managing an ever-changing schedule, and fending off an army of PR agents and brand managers. She was fetching lattes 1 minute and coordinating a high-fashion photo shoot the next. It was exhausting, but it was also exhilarating. For the first time, Lulu was touching the life she had only ever dreamed of. She wore Zara's cast-off designer clothes, tasted food prepared by private chefs, and slept in hotel suites bigger than her old apartment. She was living the dream, or at least a version of it. But proximity to wealth is a funny thing. It's not the same as possessing it. As Lulu became more indispensable to Zara, she also became more invisible. She was the silent figure in the background of Zara's perfect pictures, the one who made the magic happen but never got to be in the spotlight. Zara, with her casual cruelty and self-absorbed nature, treated Lulu less like a person and more like an accessory, a useful, but ultimately disposable, tool. The initial thrill began to fade, replaced by a growing resentment. Lulu saw the cracks in Zara's perfect facade, the insecurity, the loneliness, the desperate need for validation. The woman she had once idolized was just as flawed and human as anyone else, but with a much bigger budget. Lulu was working 24/7 to maintain a lifestyle that wasn't even her own, and the illusion was beginning to shatter. The breaking point came during a lavish trip to Monaco. While Zara was living it up on a yacht, Lulu was back in the hotel suite, dealing with a logistical nightmare. Overworked and underappreciated, she looked at her reflection in the gilded mirror. She was wearing a dress that cost more than her rent for a year, but she had never felt poorer. She realized she hadn't escaped her old life. She had just traded one cage for another, albeit a much fancier one. She had chased the glitter and gold, only to find that it was cold and empty. That night, Lulu made a new plan. She didn't need to be Zara or live Zara's life. She needed to build her own. She walked away from the job, from the glamour, and from the woman who represented everything she thought she wanted. It wasn't an easy choice, but it was hers. Lulu learned that true wealth isn't about what you have, but about who you are. And for the first time, she was ready to find out who that was. What do you think her next move should be? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. Have you ever scrolled through your feed, seen those influencers living the dream life, and thought, how did they do it? The endless vacations, designer bags, 5-star dinners. It seems almost too good to be true. Well, today, we're pulling back the curtain on this glamorous world through the story of a young woman named Lulu. Lulu was just like many of us, wide-eyed and dreaming of making it big online. She admired the effortless perfection of influencers, especially a rising star named Zara. Zara's life was a whirlwind of private jets, exclusive parties, and a wardrobe that looked like it came straight from a fashion magazine. To Lulu, Zara was everything she wanted to be. One day, by a stroke of luck, Lulu met Zara at a high-end cafe. Zara, seeing Lulu's ambition, decided to take her under her wing. She promised to teach Lulu the secrets to her success. Lulu was ecstatic. This was her chance, her ticket to the top. The first lesson, however, wasn't about camera angles or brand deals. It was about something much more transactional. Zara explained that the influencer life wasn't really funded by ads or sponsored posts. Not at the beginning anyway. The real currency was charm, beauty, and the attention of wealthy benefactors. These weren't boyfriends in the traditional sense. They were sponsors, powerful men who financed their lavish lifestyles in exchange for companionship. The designer bags were gifts. The luxury apartments were paid for. The vacations were all expenses-paid trips to join them in exotic locations. Lulu was shocked. This wasn't the hustle culture she had imagined. It was a carefully constructed illusion, a performance funded by others. Zara laid it out plainly. To have the life, you had to play the game. Authenticity was a liability. Your followers don't want to see the struggle. They want to see the fantasy, and someone has to pay for it. At first, Lulu resisted. It felt wrong, deceptive. She had wanted to build something real, something of her own. But as she watched Zara effortlessly navigate this world, reaping rewards that Lulu could only dream of, the temptation grew stronger. The line between right and wrong started to blur. Was it so bad to accept a gift to go on a trip? Slowly but surely, Lulu started to change. She learned to dress the part, to speak the language of luxury, to be the perfect, charming companion. Her social media began to transform. Gone were the candid, everyday posts. In their place were glossy, curated images from yachts, Michelin star restaurants, and private villas. Her follow count exploded. The validation, the likes, the comments was intoxicating. Lulu got her first sponsor, a man much older than her, introduced by Zara. He bought her the designer handbag she'd been coveting, and soon, her rent was taken care of too. She told herself it was just a shortcut, a temporary arrangement until she could stand on her own 2 feet. But the deeper she got, the harder it was to imagine leaving. She mastered the art of illusion. She'd post a photo with a caption about hard work paying off, knowing full well the trip was paid for by someone else. She talked about boss babe energy while waiting for a text to confirm her next shopping allowance. She had become a product, her life a meticulously crafted advertisement for a fantasy. The real Lulu was buried under layers of designer clothes and false narratives. She lost touch with her old friends, the ones who knew the real her. They couldn't understand her new life, and she couldn't explain it. She was living in a golden cage, surrounded by luxury but feeling emptier than ever. The dream she had chased so desperately had turned into a performance she couldn't escape. She had the followers, the fame, the fortune, but she had traded her soul for it. Lulu's story is a powerful reminder that what we see online is often just the highlight reel, and sometimes even that is completely staged. It forces us to question the true cost of fame and the pressure to project an image of success. So the next time you're scrolling, remember that behind the perfect picture, there's always a story you don't see. What do you think about this side of the influencer world? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. And if you found this story eye-opening, make sure to like and subscribe for more deep dives. See you next time. Have you ever scrolled through your feed, seen those perfect influencers, and thought, I wish that was me? Well, today I want to tell you a story about a girl named Lulu, who wanted that more than anything. Lulu was just an ordinary girl, scrolling through her phone day after day, mesmerized by the glamorous lives of internet celebrities. She dreamed of their perfect looks, their adoring fans, and their seemingly effortless success. She started small, trying to copy their makeup, their outfits, their poses. But no matter how hard she tried, she just couldn't break through the noise. She was still just a Lulu, invisible in a sea of aspiring stars. One night, feeling completely defeated, she stumbled upon an obscure online forum. It promised a shortcut to fame, a way to get everything she ever wanted. The forum was filled with whispers about a mysterious figure who could grant beauty and influence for a price. Desperate, Lulu reached out. A few days later, a small, ornate box arrived at her door. Inside was a strange, intricately carved charm, cool to the touch. The instructions were simple. Wear it believe in it, and her deepest desires would come true. Lulu, skeptical but hopeful, put it on. The next day, something felt different. When she posted a simple selfie, the likes and comments flooded in. People who had never noticed her before were suddenly showering her with praise. It was intoxicating. Her follower count started climbing, first by the hundreds, then by the thousands. But the charm seemed to demand more. Lulu started feeling an intense pressure to change her appearance, to become the flawless idol her new followers expected. The subtle photo edits weren't enough anymore. She began seeking out cosmetic procedures, each one a little riskier than the last. She altered her face, her body, anything to chase that fleeting feeling of perfection. With each procedure, her online fame grew, but the Lulu her friends and family knew began to disappear. She was a stranger in her own skin, her reflection a mosaic of expensive treatments and digital filters. The charm, once a symbol of hope, now felt like a heavy chain around her neck. She was a prisoner to her own curated image. The endless cycle of procedures, the constant need for validation, it was all-consuming. She had millions of followers, but she had never felt more alone. The success she had craved felt hollow, a beautiful illusion built on a foundation of pain and sacrifice. Lulu realized she was losing herself completely. One day, she looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the person staring back. The joy she thought fame would bring was nowhere to be found, replaced by a constant, gnawing anxiety. Was this what she really wanted? In a moment of clarity, she took off the charm. It felt like breaking a spell. She decided to go live, not as the perfect influencer, but as herself. She talked about the pressures, the risky choices, and the loneliness behind the screen. It was raw, honest, and terrifying. The story of Lulu is a reminder that true beauty and happiness don't come from a filter or a procedure. They come from embracing who you really are. Thanks for watching, and remember to be kind to yourself. See you next time. Lulu stared at the message for a long time, feeling strange. TBI didn't know the truth. She thought Lulu was just an influence. She didn't know that the designer bags Lulu wore and the luxury trips were paid for by men she barely liked. She didn't know about the secret mansion parties where shady deals were made in secrecy, and Lulu planned to keep it that way. But the problem with playing a dirty game was that eventually, someone would want to see you fall. It started with a rumor. One morning, Lulu woke up to a DM from an anonymous account. It read, "You think you can fool people forever? Wait and see." Lulu froze and clicked on the account, but it had no profile picture. Was this a joke? Before she could even process it, her phone started ringing. Zara was calling. "Check Twitter," Zara said the moment Lulu picked up. Lulu opened the app and froze. She was trending. A gossip blog had just posted an expose about her. New influencer alert. Lulu Johan, Santan's newest girl, but sources say she's not as independent as she claims. Sources confirm she has a sponsor, a married billionaire who funds her entire lifestyle. So, which is it? Hard work or hard work Lulu felt sick. She dropped her phone and stared at the floor in disbelief. Who did this? She thought. Who could have done this? Lulu thought long and hard and came to the conclusion that it had to be someone who wanted to gain from her downfall, and the only person who knew too much and fit that description was Zara. That evening, Lulu stormed into Zara's penthouse. Why would you do this to me?" she demanded. Zara was sitting on her couch, drinking wine, as though nothing was wrong. She smiled and sipped her glass. "Darling, you were getting too big, too fast. You're too ambitious. This industry doesn't like new girls who don't know their place." Lulu couldn't believe her ears. She felt like she had been punched. "Zara, I thought you were my friend." Zara laughed. "Friend? You're not worth it, sweetheart. I brought you into this world, and I can take you out." Lulu's hands shook with rage.